Hello, hello, hello. It's Lyndon Thorpe here, Our Way, Our Wealth. And I'm here every Saturday and Sunday. And I'm usually on my own. And I'm usually audio only, but got a guest today. Again, Rosemary O'Shaughnessy was with me last Sunday, and we didn't finish the questions. So we decided we had to meet again. And so here we are again, but we can only give you a video performance. It's very strange, but we cannot get both of our voices to operate without the camera. So I think the truth of the matter is people want to see us.
Yes.
It's not a podcast at all. It's a video cast. Don't worry, it's fine. Okay, so let's get started, because last week, I hope you remember, we asked Rosemary some very important questions about LinkedIn. She is a LinkedIn insider, just to recap, certified LinkedIn insider. She's a trainer, a speaker. She was featured in Influence Digest with 1 million readers, which is really impressive. And she specializes in LinkedIn profile, networking strategies, converting connections into business, which is ideal for small businesses and service providers. And she has agreed to come and give us some good tips. And we had some great tips last week. So shall we just carry on from where we left off, Rosemary? Welcome, by the way. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Delighted to be here in camera and all.
Lovely to see you again.
Thank you. And lovely to see you.
So last week, just a quick summary. We asked you why you were first drawn to LinkedIn as a platform for meaningful business growth. Secondly, we asked you what mind shift or mindset shift or energetic shift helped you show up consistently and authentically. And then we started to talk about what are the 3 common LinkedIn mistakes that small businesses and service providers make. So I think the natural progression now is to go on to the next question, which is, what's your signature approach to turning conversations into conversions without feeling salesy? And I know this really bothers a lot of LinkedIn people, because we always seem to be pitching, and of course that doesn't really make for good networking at all. People get fed up with it. So what's your signature approach for making it not salesy?
I think you like my answer, and I think we came up with this answer last week as well. Start from inside. Because when you start from inside on who you genuinely are, and forget about the sales for a second, and just to give you an example, I'm an expert on a panel next week. And how did that opportunity happen? It happened because we had a really bad storm in Ireland in January, and I had no electricity, and I wrote a LinkedIn article about how I kept running my business with no electricity for 8 days. It was great fun. So that story kind of resonated with someone because it was unique to me. It was unique to my circumstances. I actually ended up I use an enterprise board or a digital hub. So I just moved myself into the digital hub. So then when this summit was coming up, because of that story, another speaker said, Rosemary will be able to relate, because the summit is to support women who actually lost their homes and lost their business because of the fires in America.
Oh, yes.
And the two kind of experiences might be quite different. One was a very windy, wet experience in Ireland. One was complete opposite. So I think the more you can have a conversation the way you would in the real world, because you should be going human first approach and then
Yes.
the other side. Because what is actually pulling an awful lot of people back, and actually LinkedIn are saying it, so it's not just me. Um, last year we were getting so much hype with AI, and AI was producing content quicker, and then people would produce these posts, and they could do absolutely everything, and there was going to be no friction, all kinds of things. But then people got very cynical about all this. And when we're cynical, if someone sends us a message, if we're starting from a space of being cynical, we're not going to actually listen.
No, that's true.
And the stat about, if, for instance, the regular public, 30% of them are very cautious or not very, they don't embrace AI and all these kind of things. So the more we actually understand people, the more we understand how to talk to people. And then also, if you're talking to people, like you're from Britain originally, I'm Irish. So we know there are certain things in common before we open our mouth.
Yes.
Um, and
Yeah.
when you're actually taking all those things into account, that affects, because that actually gets a reaction, very
Yes.
much so.
Yeah.
And also, if you do understand anything, that little extra ingredients about people. Like there's one person who reads what I write, but she does not listen to of my content because she's a hearing challenge. It's
Um,
not that she can't hear everything, but it means it's more effort and she needs to be in a certain environment, so there's no background
yes.
and all that kind of thing. So
Yes.
it's
Yes.
automatically. So the more we actually understand and we take all these things into
Yeah.
account about our audience, then it is easier to
Yeah.
communicate. So think from yourself
I
and
think
then
you're
the
so
other person.
right. Yes, start from the inside. Well, that's my motto, as you know, as an embodiment mentor, that we came up with that. But yes, I think a lot about something that I label local knowledge. In other words, here in Japan, where I live, I know certain things about the people in our community around here. And because I have local knowledge of them, then, when I talk about them or my business ideas, I can really just totally carve out exactly the right kind of package for so that they can understand the language, the vocabulary. There are big problems in Japan with something we call katakana, which is a script that really imitates foreign words. So there's so many imported foreign words in Japanese, but the pronunciation is incredible because of katakana. So katakana keeps everything within that sound system. And so, for example, if I want to talk to someone about the news, so if they say it in a Japanese conversation, they say news, because it's katakana, you see. And most foreigners think, what is that? What are they talking about? So katakana is a big handicap for Japanese people. So whenever I talk about my stuff to them, I make sure that I use katakana pronunciation. I make sure the words are already known to them. So in other words, I have a lot of knowledge about them and their culture and their milieu, if you like, because, it's very different. Japanese society is very different to Western society. So I call this local knowledge. And it's something that is priceless, I think, because if you really know about somebody and you really know where they live and you know what they eat and drink and you have real insights into their life, then of course you're going to talk to them in a very different way than if you're talking to a kind of faceless mass of people. And so I think what you're talking about is so true. And local knowledge to me is one of the most precious things. And I'm so lucky in Japan because I've got Japanese local knowledge, but I've also got Western local knowledge. So I've got lots of local knowledge about UK. I lived in France. I've lived in Italy. I've lived all over the world, really. And so I've got a lot of local knowledge, which I try to use as much as I can with my audience and my connections and so on. So it's a great point. So right. And of course, I didn't think about all the possible impairments. Yeah, we don't, do we? And we should. There is something fanatical about trying to pitch yourself and trying to be visible. But in fact, it would be interesting to know how many LinkedIn members are hearing impaired, how many are visually impaired, how many are dyslexic, etc. All of these infirmities that to be aware of. So that's really inspired me to do some specific posts with those groups in mind, because we have to accommodate everybody, don't we, really?
Yeah, and what I would say, like, you could get all the stats. I used to know them all from the World Health Organization, because it is nearly
yeah.
all of us will be disabled in some form at some stage in our life.
Yes.
And I was actually at something, and it was about inclusivity, and it never really hit me about. There was a stroke association there, and of course, and it is a brain injury. But there are people on LinkedIn. Both of us are wearing glasses, for starters.
Yeah.
That a lot affect how we consume things.
Yes.
And then you have people who might have something, and then as they age, like I did a very interesting podcast with a lady who helps people with dementia. But the way the story is told is it's just you get dementia, but you can get dementia, but you have glasses, or you might have had dyslexia all your life. So now you're someone who has dementia with dyslexia and glasses. So
yeah. I was just one of the really hidden impediments or impairments is ADD.
Yeah.
And I'm in contact with a lot of people who are suffering from ADD, and I'm able to really help them because of my background with music therapy and as a mindful educator. I've worked with so many ADD people in my life. And so, yeah, I think you're really right. We have to try in our content to always include these minority groups. And for ADD, I mean, it's massive. It's affecting so many people. I've got 3 or 4 academic friends whose children were diagnosed with ADD, but then to support their kids, they went along and had the tests themselves. They're all ADD. So all these academics, they're on the Asperger's syndrome quite often, because they're fanatical about one thing. But most of them have ADD too. So, it's on the up. And I think we have to really be conscious of that. And I'm so glad you raised it, because I certainly will be from now on.
Yeah,
Instead
because like
Go
the person who reads my stuff, I then changed how I actually do my podcasts. And then, of course, if I put them on LinkedIn, then I actually add captions. And they were thrilled with that. And I got a private message about that. And
Mm,
then the
good.
inclusivity can be tech or tech, because on my email, I do a weekly email and I add my podcast. And then someone sent me an email to say I don't use Spotify, and I had a
Right.
Spotify link. And then and now it was on Apple, I gave them an Apple link and they were fine. So inclusivity can be all kinds of things, because we
Yeah.
can't do absolutely everything. But then that all comes down to what we should be doing well on LinkedIn is our relationships. Because if we do our relationship bit right,
Yeah.
it, because I did my relationship bit right, instead of just saying, oh, that didn't click, and just click out of it and forget about me and my emails, the
Yeah.
person then sent me a message that said I couldn't open it.
All right.
Yeah, because it was Spotify, and they weren't going to set up a
Great.
Spotify account to listen to me. And that's
Yeah,
fair
yeah, yeah.
enough as well.
That's
So
super.
it's
I think
very
this is really
important.
gold because I think instead of panicking about being visible, which I know that many people on LinkedIn are doing, they're rushing to write as many posts as they can, blah, 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 to become, instead of doing that, it's much better to consolidate and say, okay, what proportion of my audience are hearing impaired? What proportion are ADD? How can I orient all my content to accommodate everybody? So there's something for everybody and they're all included. Yeah, it's a great idea. I'm really glad you raised it. And I think it will reassure a lot of members of LinkedIn that it's not all about the pitch, and there's much more to it when we want to build meaningful networks. So great idea. I'm on board with that, definitely. And
Good.
by
Like
the
if you
way,
look at the stats, it's a huge, businesses are losing a fortune by not taking account of all these things. And LinkedIn, I was at
mm,
something about 2 years ago, and it was all about inclusivity and content about
yes,
inclusivity and all that. So it does for business affect the bottom line.
yes, wonderful, great. It's a great point, and I will certainly start to rethink my content and try and accommodate everyone. Super, wonderful. Okay, well, let's move on because we're this is real quality stuff because we're spending much longer on each question. We'll have to meet again. It's going to have to become
We will have to
a
stop
regular
talking.
thing, yes. And if we're lucky, we might even make it a podcast in the end.
Lovely. I love that.
Anyway, moving on to the fusion. And this is really technical, and I've got experience with profile optimization through Richard Wood, who is my kind of link with LinkedIn for Breakfast. I've been working with him for a year now. So he's done a profile optimization for me and given me lots of advice. But I'm changing. I've really rebranded. I think I mentioned this last week. I've rebranded really in the last 3 weeks. And so I'm now having to optimize my profile again. But yeah, what part of a LinkedIn profile do people overlook that actually does the heavy lifting?
There's an awful lot of things. It's like when somebody changes a job or business or whatever phrase they do, their experience might be out of date, for example. Not,
Yeah,
it needs to be updated and what is relevant for the current work. Because what actually happens in a profile, we look at the about section, and it's like the old newspaper above the fold. You read
yeah,
that, and if that doesn't resonate, then people don't read further. So, the big challenge for most people is keeping up to date with their
yes,
profile, because
yes,
circumstances change. Or even, for example, if you're doing a podcast, you're doing an event, and that people forget, and I see it so often. They've done an event and it could have been a year ago on a profile and it's totally out of date. And then what do people think about you and your profile? They think you're up to date,
Yeah.
you're not serious and committed about your business. So if I
Yes.
do an event the following morning, you change that date, or not, it might be the following morning,
Yes.
but I make
Yes.
sure it's changed and it's updated. So
Yes.
really different, because obviously you've talked about academics. Now, academics' needs and their profile is very different because they could have white papers and whatever. Where someone other's business, that might be obviously as important. So that, I wish I could say there was this perfect answer for everyone. Again, comes to the individual.
Yes.
And if you are going to showcase content exact on your profile, what is the content? If someone's going to buy off you, what are the questions that people are likely to ask? And where can you help them? So they're really, as what is important, as the academic scenario would be
Mm.
very different than, say, someone is selling a product,
Yes.
and how
Yeah.
their profile would be used. But the
Yes.
core thing is all of us go to a coffee shop, and if you're in Seattle, they'd probably offer you hundreds of types of coffee, and you probably couldn't decide how to make any cup of coffee. So really, the first thing is remember how we remember things. What is the core thing? Say three things or one to three things that you really want, and use those top skills, because that affects LinkedIn search,
Yeah.
which is very, very important. So if those top skills, and that also happens to people, they might change direction of their career or their business, and they don't change the top skills. Or you
Mm.
might actually have a business that you focus on something seasonally. So maybe you should change your top skills when you're doing a specific offer to
Yeah.
draw people for that. So I'd love to say there is a perfect answer for everyone and everything,
But
but
there isn't.
there isn't.
Yeah.
There's best practices.
Yes.
If we do have a good headline or photo, and you can use things like Snapper. I don't know if you want to use Snapper, where you could get your LinkedIn photo. It's a website, and you upload your photo and it'll grade your photo. Now, I take it with a pinch of salt of what they say. They'll You'll get comments about your jawline and all kinds of things. Now, my photo, a friend took, and I had a really happy day with her, and I liked my photo for that reason. And of course, they'd say, always have the clear background. We're actually somewhere I really
Yes.
like to go.
Yes. Yes.
But on the other hand, if our photo is bad, people will be less likely to answer our messages. And also, we know what has happened on LinkedIn with the algorithm. Like, let's face it, people's posts are being seen by less people. And then if you have a bad photo of yourself, and then people are less likely to respond, um, then you're being hit by the algorithm and you're being hit by your photo. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
really want to, like everything, get your foundations correct and get your foundations done well. Because if
Yes.
you don't get them done right, you're kind of spinning your wheels, or whatever phrase
Yes.
we want to
Great. Great advice. I mean, I
be
know
moving parts.
there's so much detail, I'm just adding project sections because
Yeah.
you recommended that to me.
Great. And I look forward to seeing them and everything.
Yeah, and I'm really enjoying sorting that out and realizing I've got loads of projects on the go, really. So it makes it much more interesting, you know. Rosemary,
are we out of
sorry.
time again?
We're out of time. This is ridiculous. We've only done 2 questions, but yeah. I think next week we're going to talk then, if you're free next.
No, I'd be delighted. I'm just rescheduling my son until later. That's the only thing.
Oh, really? Are you sure?
No problem.
Well,
no problem.
Really?
We'll get there in the end.
We have great fun on these sessions anyway, don't we? But yeah, we've still got some really good questions like visibility versus credibility and authentic strategies, real life moments, future trends, and your final message. So I think we've got about 4 more sessions, really. We can.
And I actually might have some, because I'm on a panel of a summit this week, and I could be asked some very interesting questions, which could even make.
Right. Well, that sounds superb, and I'm just so sorry, but we really get into it, don't we? I mean, there's so much detail, and it's so lovely to hear you giving such good examples too. And I'm delighted because we're really touching on the reality that many of our members are in some way impaired or even handicapped. And I think that's essential to bear in mind. Inclusivity is my middle name, really. And I really do want to, I mean, I've tried to have such a wide variety of content, but I think I can try a bit harder and like provide audio and script. So for those people who would like to choose this kind of thing, you know. So yeah, I'm really fascinated by types of content and content strategies in general. It's wonderful. Thank you so much for coming. And thank you to, good. And thank you to all our LinkedIn members tuned in, hopefully, and YouTubers. We're streaming to LinkedIn and YouTube today. And I hope that you've found this really interesting. And join us again, because next Sunday, all being well, we're going to do the same thing and probably do 2 more questions. Just not long enough. Okay, thanks so much, Rosemary. have a great panel discussion. I'll be watching.
Very well.
I'll be supporting you with your panel discussion, and I'll see you on other circuits. So great care. Enjoy your sauna. And,
I will.
I will speak to you very soon. Bye for now.
Look forward to that, Lyndon, and thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.